The government now understands that exhibitions are the main driver for the economy. We have an economic factor of 12 to 1. 1 RMB spent in my venue gives the city of Shanghai 12.
Michael Kruppe, CEO and General Manager at SNIEC, the Shanghai New International Expo Center.
There's been clearly a transformation from selling to an experience.
In the last 2 years, there's a huge demand for additional entertainment. I'll give you an example. We have a food show. During that show, we actually have cocktail mixing, pizza making competition, chocolate body painting.
I see this with a lot of companies. They'll have their booth. They might take a few photos. That's all that they do. But if they did live streaming, pre-marketing, we're going to be at this event, come along.
Correct.
All these kind of things works in China. Do you think it could be applied to the West?
I don't think so. Atmosphere is especially created here in China, and I do not see this at all in the West.
What's one thing that you notice that a lot of companies make the mistake when they set up their booth and promoting their products and services?
The key part is to have a booth which is looking interesting and is attracting people, and it's expensive. To set up such a booth costs easily 3, 4, 5 million RMB. That's step one. But if you don't do the second step, then you're wasting everything. Our venue was taken by the government as a hospital. We had 60,000 beds. So after that, the people needed the trust of our industry to build again a platform. It's highly important to give this confidence to the people. When they come to our venue, they can trust the safety, the security, and of course the content.
Congratulations, Panda Profits gang. We've made some progress. 81% of people that watch the podcast are not subscribed, down from 83%. Our goal is 75%. If you like this channel, please subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. The bigger the channel, the bigger the guests. Thank you. Enjoy the episode. Michael, what's happening with offline events in China right now?
Did you say offline?
Yeah.
Or what means offline? I'm not really sure what are you talking about exhibitions?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I know what you're referring to. Can I just briefly come back on the offline thing? And that offline word was created during the COVID, especially in China, when people were kind of talking about online because we were locked in at home and had events going on, webinars and online exhibitions. And at that time, somebody created that word off or offline. We in the exhibition industry are anything else except being off. We're actually on. We're on the floor ground, so exhibitions are on. So if you don't mind, I don't really like that word offline. But to answer your question, a lot of things are going on, especially after COVID. People are hungry really to meet, whether it's business professionals for trade shows or consumer events, of what we call B2C, even fashion shows, festivals, concerts, conferences, any event, let's say event where people meet, a trade show and so on, especially after COVID, is almost booming right now in China, especially in Shanghai.
So there's been clearly a transformation from and a change in the format, right? So it used to just be you had your booth and then you shill your product or service, but it's actually transformed now, right? From selling to an experience.
Yeah, Daniel, absolutely. That let's say in the old days when you went to a show and you wanted to find suppliers or meet customers, then you go there and then you go home and that's it. That, I would say, totally changed. The format, let's call it format, the change of format or new requirements is based on the experience of people who went to a show. They went and found the suppliers or customers, then they went back home and they found something is missing. In the last, especially after COVID years or 1 or 2 years, there's a huge demand for additional entertainment experience. You go to an exhibition, I'll give you an example. We have a food show, lots of finished food products, even including beverages and wine. So during that show, we actually have the World Cup on cocktail mixing. We have a pizza making competition. We have a chocolate body painting experience. So the traditional B2B people, they spend more time in the venue on the show, and they hopefully talk about it to their friends or to other business relation people and say, hey, have you been on that show? Besides finding industry partners, hey, they have some experience in entertainment. And that's really what we see. And we also prepare as a venue to create more space, more atmosphere, more equipment, more whatever it is to cater that need.
Would you say that's the biggest difference between the West and China when it comes to events in particular, it's more of a show when you
Yeah.
come in China. There's
Yeah.
more dancing, there's more models, there's
Absolutely.
more of an experience compared
Yeah.
to the West. So what would be some key features that you would see at a Chinese event at your expo center compared to, say, somewhere in Barcelona or London or
yeah.
Berlin?
Well, obviously you're here also for a lot of years. You know that in a way the Chinese, the Asians are very adaptive to any form of entertainment. They are crazy about mobile phones, TikTok, all these things. Europe, I would say, is a bit behind. They are still very traditional, let's say, in Europe. And they're not so much in the West. In Europe, they're not so much catching up on that additional demand from the visitors. Whereas here in China, especially in Shanghai, also in my venue, we very much adapted to the new requirements from the visitors. And as you mentioned, fashion show, dancing, you name it, there's an endless category of activities we can add on to the exhibition, as you mentioned, to the offline. Because at the same time, we're also using online experience. During our shows, we have a lot of brands. They're actually doing online activities like webinars, like online streaming or live streaming. That is happening at the same time. So the two worlds, they are kind of merging into an area, a platform, which is perfect because it's our venue. So online, offline meet together to create that new space. And I see this in the next 5 or 10 years to stay like that.
It's an easy win because I see this with a lot of companies. They'll have their booth. They might take a few photos.
Yeah.
But that's all that they do.
Yeah.
But if they did a bit of live streaming, a bit of content, pre-marketing, we're going to be at this event, come along, giving away free gifts, scan our QR code, follow us, we have a prize giveaway.
Correct.
All these kind of things works in China.
Yeah.
Do you think it could be applied to the West?
I don't think so. I mean, you know how it is. If you, as you just mentioned, if a booth is having like a lottery or like a gambling with the iPhone, you can do that, and you win free noodles, for example. The free noodles may be worth 20 RMB, just to say something. Still, people would queue for up to half an hour just to be part of that activity to maybe win the free noodles or a free voucher for whatever. And that atmosphere is especially created here in China. And I do not see this at all in the West. And whether it's good or bad, it's a different story. But if I look at our performance, for example, our venue, we are by far worldwide #1 in terms of sold space, in terms of visitors. We have almost 8 million, maybe the next 2 years, 10 million visitors. And these 10 million visitors, they want to have an experience. They want to not feel boring. They want to come to China. They want to talk about it, and I want them to talk about it. I want to say, hey, have you been to SNIEC? Have you seen the show? Have you seen what they've done to the toilets? Just talk about the toilets. We are thinking about giving a special flavor or odor to our toilets, and we want people to talk about, hey, have you experienced the strawberry odor? Just for example, just create a story, or working with colors. Maybe we are thinking about a concept to color the exhibition halls or areas in pink, in blue, you name it. It's all about visual, sensual experience. And that's, in my understanding and in my experience, that's the future of our industry, of the exhibition industry.
And that's what drives the foot traffic, right? You want that buzz around your booth. You want to see that queue coming out the door.
Exactly.
Why are they there?
Yeah.
You mentioned recently you had an event. Do explain to the audience, but your exhibition center is huge. It's aircraft carrier kind of size, right? So explain to us, like, one of the events you had recently, it was actually an aircraft event, wasn't it?
Well, actually, it was an aviation exhibition. The only problem we had, we could not land the plane because we don't have a runway. But we basically set up a plane. We assembled a plane. And that show was about technical catering. It was everything around the aviation. So that is probably our only limitation. And the other limitation is maritime exhibitions. We cannot really drive in a big ship because we don't have the waterway. But we can create or assemble a boat and basically work around it and add some services around it. But basically there's no limit on whatever industry we can have in our venue. And we have every year 130 shows, which are mostly the world leading shows. And the beauty of that industry is also of my job. I meet basically all the CO, GM level directors of different industries. And by talking to them, I understand, I feel about the industry's general situation. And for example, automotive, as we know right now in China, is maybe not so good. And then other industries like digitization, like environmental protection, ESG, this kind of topics is a huge demand. Sports is another thing, food and beverage in general. So it's interesting to see how different C-level people have a different understanding on strategies as well, how they work in China. And that's honestly the beauty of my job. I love to talk to these people on the floor, face to face.
Well, I know you actually get out there. You could just be in your boardroom, your office, sitting back with your feet up. But actually, I see you, on the floor, getting around the centre. So how have you actually, firstly, grown the business, but how did you go from a young boy in Germany, right, to China and becoming the head of the Shanghai New International Expo Center?
I wonder myself, to be honest. When I was in my first company, maybe I may add, I played 1 year professional soccer in Hamburg. So my dream was to be a professional soccer player. And then somehow it didn't work out. And then I took a trainee job in a trading company in Hamburg. And I wanted to travel. So I asked them to send me abroad. And I wanted to go, that was in the 80s, to America. Because America in the 80s was cool. And they said, well, we have other guys. You know what? We send you to China. And I was really, I thought I would never accept that. But I said, okay, you know what? Why not? Let's try it. So they sent me to China. That was 1989. And the moment I touched down, I kind of loved it. I loved the way the Chinese communicate. They do business, they talk, they drink, they have food, they meet, and so on. They tell stories. I quickly noticed I like that. So basically, I stayed there. And then over the last 30 years, I experienced, I was working for 4 companies. So now the CEO job for the exhibition is the 5th job, and I'm doing it for 11 years. And I'm glad to say that meanwhile, our venue is #1 in the world. And I think I found my destination in terms of career-wise and business-wise. So that's roughly my story, yeah.
And what's been the hustle to get there? You must have had to obviously really work hard, but what was the key attributes that set you up to be now the head?
Well, I think to stay absolutely flexible. Coming from Europe, from Germany, you know how us Europeans are sometimes. We have a plan, and on the way there may be problems. Especially in Germany, we want to solve the problem in advance, and that never works. So I would say the Chinese way was always, let's move on, and if a problem comes, we solve it when it happens, and not try in advance. So this kind of flexibility opened me many doors. And in a way also liking the Chinese way of life, as I mentioned before, the business, the way, even the Mao Tai drinking. Yeah, I drank more when I was younger, but that helped really and opened the doors to create partnerships with the Chinese, because I think by doing that, I was not pretending. I really enjoyed that. So this authentic personality, I think, is something the Chinese business partners also experienced, and somehow that, I think, was one of the elements why I go to that level where I'm now.
So it's flexibility, but also doing what you love. I think that seems to come across from what you're saying.
Yeah.
And as far as your actual journey, how did you then get into, not offline events, we call them online events, right? How did you transition into this industry in particular? What was the jump from here to here?
Most easy way to explain it is that something I'm good at is face to face. So talk with people, just what we are doing right now. We're talking, we're chatting, we're interviewing, we're podcasting. It's all about information. And as a person coming from Hamburg, a port city, a trading city, I think maybe my roots already were always open to talk to not only German people, but international people, especially in the trading or port city. And I think this face-to-face and this being interested in what the other is doing, I think back to what I said before, this authentic interest in the other people's business or even personal life, that I think created the career, what I'm talking about here.
As far as the next year as well, you've got a fantastic past, you've built this foundation, and now you've got a roadmap coming up, where do you see the Expo Center evolving? And another question would be, are you utilizing AI within the events and what you're doing?
Let me answer the second question first. We are not using AI at the moment. However, we are using, of course, WeChat to run our operations. Is WeChat AI? Probably not, maybe partly. Is it digitalization? Of course it is. But AI right now, no, because we are very hands-on business. So question number one, especially after COVID, the future of exhibitions in general and our venue is based on people's interest to meet. And I think this will never stop. Of course, we have more online, more AI events going on, and that's fine. But all these online activities, webinars, online streaming and whatever, they can be integrated in a trade show, in an exhibition. And that's happening right now. We have analyzed that. So at this moment, the revenues coming from online into exhibitions is maximum 5 to 10%. So back to your question number one, our future is absolutely positive. We just have to make sure that the fast changing demand from the visitors, especially we talk about experience, that can be from food experience. We have 50 restaurants. If our restaurants are not having delicious food, people will not come, they don't like it. So we're continuously trying to add new restaurants, new products. We are trying to add new experiences like fashion shows, like dancing, like cocktail mixing, like you name it. We had just last week we had the Mobile World Congress, which actually is also in Barcelona and Miami, Worldwide 3. There was a drone competition. Anything which is of, let's say, entertainment character is definitely the future of our industry. So exhibition, there's another word, MICE, as you know. The MICE word means basically a combination of exhibition, meetings, incentives, travel. I think nowadays, wherever people meet is a MICE part. Exhibition is maybe part of it. And again, in the old days, we had two groups, MICE and exhibition. Also, this is merging. So for us, we don't care. As long as people come together, hopefully in my venue, I don't care how you call it, but it's a business. And this business is generating new business. So my customers, the exhibitors, we talked about a booth, they are selling products or services. So somebody's coming to their booth and buying their products or services or signing a contract. That is our future, creating the right platform so that people can meet to make business and have fun and have good food and feel entertained.
I think the key, you mentioned bringing people together, the power of the human touch.
Right.
I think that has a lot of power to it, in the sense of not only generating business, but also for mental health, right? People getting out, going to events, having a good time. I think it's been lost in the last few years. But for people to get out to an event, meet people, I try and go to as many events as I can here and there. I think it's a really great point to bring people together. And you also mentioned about the booths. I'm just interested to know, what's maybe one or two things that you see generally when a company has their booth that you think, if they just change that one thing, it would immediately increase foot traffic. Or, we've mentioned a few of them at live stream, but anything that you observationally over the years you've seen, there's that one thing, if they just change that one thing. I always say, if you get off your phone, you see a lot of people on their phone, if they just got out in front of the booth and pulled people in. But what's one thing that you notice that a lot of companies make the mistake in when they set up their booth and are promoting their products and services?
Well, I would say two main. Of course, the key part is to have a booth which is looking interesting and is attracting people, and it's expensive. If you're creating, I think before we talked about China Beauty, you've been there, as I remember we talked before. They are huge booths. They are like 300, 400, 500 square meters. Some even have 1,000 square meters. To set up such a booth costs easily 3, 4, 5 million RMB, easily. So when you do that, that's step one. Of course, people are interested, they look, they see, oh, look at this. But if you don't do the second step, to have staff on the booth talking to you, then you're wasting everything. And you ask that question. Quite often, I walk by, I see this beautiful booth, and I say, oh, wow, look at this, and that's new and nice design. but I don't see any stuff, any let's say salespeople or contact people. So people passing by, making pictures, making selfies, but the people who are in charge, let's say they're salespeople, they're quite often on their phone doing something which I don't know. It's not my job, but I observe that. So I don't know why some companies spend so much money on the booth and then they don't have enough manpower, or women power, we should say as well. Spend that money and add 3 or 4 more people to take care of you and me who are passing by, because if you don't catch me, then you're losing me. And then all the money you invest on the booth is kind of wasted. And that sounds like really they do that? Yes, they do. And I really don't know why. But that's just my observation. So I hope whoever's listening to the podcast, hire more staff.
Yeah. And you can do that cost effectively. I've gone to events before. I've even hired students before. You give them a bit of training, say get outside, bring people in, get them to take a photo with the nice banner. That's a big thing in China. I would say
I agree.
Big differentiator between the West and China is that banner and taking the photo. Just those little tweaks, it just makes the difference, creating that buzz around the booth, which I think is really great. You've also got your own podcast, which seems really interesting. Do you want to tell people about your podcast? Because the big issue we have with our podcast is people saying, "Oh, it's too long." But your one, you've actually made it very efficient and very, very German. Actually, it's very sort of, I would say very, to the point. So tell me more about your podcast.
Okay, I'm not sure efficient, but it's shorter than yours.
Right.
So I thought about 6 months ago that I somehow wanted to talk about the industry in general. And I thought about maybe on a Monday, it's a good time. So I thought about a name, Monday with Michael, MWM. And I started to do selfies as a video, probably maximum 2 minutes long. And then I chose in the beginning every Monday a location where I did that. And I talked about safety, traffic, visitors, booth, special topics, whatever it is. I did this 4 or 5 times, and the reaction was surprisingly well. People said, "Oh, we like that." And in the beginning, I was alone, and then later I do together with a customer, with a supplier, with a partner, and that's what I will continue to do. But I must tell you, not every Monday, because if you overkill or if you overpower your visitors or your spectators or the people who are watching your podcast, if it's too much, it's too much. So I probably will reduce to once a month on a Monday. But that's basically my podcast at the moment. Not too much making advertisement for our venue. It's more about, I see myself also as an ambassador for our industry. Let people know what's happening inside the exhibition industry. And I'm also not publishing it on exhibition channels. I do it basically on LinkedIn, WeChat, WhatsApp, and Facebook. That's all at the moment. And the best created almost 40,000 views, which, I mean, if you ask my daughters, that's nothing, but 40,000 views is okay, I think.
Well, I think you should get those up on TikTok. They'll probably blow up as well. TikTok or Douyin here in China, I think it would do well.
We have not tried that yet.
Yeah, I would hit back a little bit at that point about the month. I would say do it weekly, because I think people really want those insights. I mean, ideally every day, but I think the fact that you've been consistent so far, it's a big issue with content creation is people don't want to put in that time just to do a week or just 2 minutes. Like you said, it could be you in front of the Pearl Tower in Pudong, or you in front of your exhibition center. I think just having those short and sweet insights is what people resonate. And you're building trust with the audience as well. You're not afraid to get your face out there. So I think it's a really great point. And that's the evolution of business promotion and marketing now is as the head, you've got to get your face out there, right? You can't hide anymore. So I think it's a really, really great point.
Can I quickly feedback on the trust? You just mentioned that word trust. That is for everybody important, but especially in our industry, and you probably know our venue was basically taken by the government as a Fangzang, as a hospital. So I was basically Dr. Michael that time. I was the head of a hospital, not of an exhibition venue. We had 60,000 beds. So after that COVID, the people needed the trust of the industry, of our industry, to build again a platform. And that's why I feedback on the trust thing. It's highly important to give this confidence to the people when they come to our venue. They can trust the safety, the security, and of course the content and so on. So we are building on that trust a lot.
And I think you're a very approachable individual. Obviously, we've been talking back and forth a little bit, but I think that's very key nowadays, not to be too inaccessible. I think you need to have some, obviously not be bombarded with messages, but what I liked about you was you were clearly very busy, but you never said to me you were busy. You just said, I've got a lot of stuff on, but I'll make the time. And I think that's really the way to do business nowadays. Because I know that you've got so many events and everything coming up. And so if people do want to get in touch with you, Michael, just quite a nice lead in there. Where can people get in touch with you, and if they want to find out more about the events as well?
Well, we of course have a SNIEC WeChat account, which, by the way, 400,000 followers, which is not so bad for an exhibition
Organic
venue.
as well?
Yes, absolutely. So in that SNIEC WeChat, you just enter and you find the company account. You can get in touch with us or with me. And of course, I also have a WeChat account. And of course, in all the websites. I mean, we are a public venue. Basically, I'm a quite known person in Shanghai. I also, I think you know that got twice the Magnolia Award from Lijiang before, and now Gongjing from the mayor. Because the government, maybe that's also important for the visitors, for the audience. The government now understand that exhibitions are the main driver for the economy. We have an economic factor of 12-1. So 1 RMB spent in my venue gives the city of Shanghai 12. And that during the COVID, when there was no exhibition, there were no visitors, hotels were empty, no taxis, no restaurants, no massage, no beauty parlor, you name it. And luckily the government understand now how important exhibitions are for the growth of the economy. And I had a lot of meetings with the government, with the mayor, to explain our business. And the same happened all over the world. We did the same in Europe, in America. So exhibitions, yes, they are main creator of revenues for the industry. And that's important for a city like Shanghai, of course.
Yeah, I would agree. I think getting that human connection again is very, very key. So, yeah, thank you so much, Michael.
Don't my pleasure.
Yeah,
thanks a lot. It was really a pleasure.
No,
absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And
thanks a lot.
We can do a round 2, I think, maybe in 6 months or so.
Anytime.
Yeah, it'd be great. And I'm going to come along to more of your events. I've seen a lot of stuff coming up. I've been to the Expo. It is incredible. When you walk through, it is hangers and hangers of just joy, actually. That would be the word, to see every country or every company, what they're up to is always really exciting.
I can recommend, of course, one of my favorite shows, of course. There are 2. One is Music China, because I used to play with my own band in my own venue.
Great.
And the other one is Pro Wine, which is one of the largest wine exhibitions. And you can imagine what kind of products that will be available, including a 500 square meter champagne lounge.
Wow.
And that's going to be in September.
Lovely. Both of those in September, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean,
fantastic.
Let me know. I give you a special tour anytime. Let me know.
Excellent. And we've got a bit of warning there. Also, if you're a company interested in potentially,
of course,
having a booth, great.
So. Or we can even do a quick podcast there or something.
I'm up for
anything you want.
I'm up for the Mondays with Michael. I'm up for the 2. I'm up for that. So appreciate it. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan.
And if I missed any questions, guys, feel free to drop a question in the comments below. Really enjoyed this one. I've learned so much. Get on out to some events. Get on over to the Shanghai New International Expo Center if you're in Shanghai. Check out their roster of events. See you soon. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.